Hello, world. Good morning, namaste, and Nisam Bulavinaka from Sydney, Australia. I am Sashi Singh, the host of Sashi Singh's Talking Point, and I welcome you to episode 54 live on Facebook and on YouTube. I request, as always, that today, as we go around the world, by the wonders of Facebook Live and YouTube, that you please share the SSTP page on your own timelines so that we may share today's program with as many interested people as possible. And to ensure that you receive instant notifications for all future programs, please like the SSTP page and follow us. Welcome to the Thinking People's program, Sashi Singh's Talking Point, live on Facebook and YouTube. Firstly, as always, an important announcement. Sashi Singh's Talking Point, SSTP, recognizes that questioning, constructive arguments, and opinions are part of conversation, but posts with aggressive personal attacks, profanity, name-calling, swearing, defamatory in nature, and/or threatening will be removed immediately, and offenders will be blocked from being a part of the SSTP program. Let us observe these rules and let's enjoy the program. Well, today I do not have Nikhil Singh's company as he returns to Sydney after attending the 5th Regional Conference of the ITUC Asia Pacific from Bangkok, Thailand. Nikhil, in fact, should be flying as we speak. No doubt he will fill us in next week as to some of the resolutions from that conference. And one big news from that conference is that our Fiji champion of workers' rights, Felix Anthony, was returned for another term as the president of the International Trades Union Congress Asia Pacific. Congratulations to Felix Anthony and to union movement in Fiji. Well, let us wait no further. We have our chief guest waiting in the green room, and it is time to officially welcome him. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome in episode 54 of Sashi Singh's Talking Point our Fiji's Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for Trade, Cooperatives, Small and Medium Enterprises and Communications, the Honorable Manoa Kamikamica. Sir, good morning to you, Nisam Bulavinaka.
Yandra, Sashi, it's a pleasure to be on the program again. It's time's flown. It's almost a year.
It has been a long time. I thought you guys deserted me.
Of course not.
Well, I'm so happy you've taken the lead, and I love your Bula shirt. It's
Naka.
absolutely vibrant. Love it. All right. Well, look, thank you for your time, and I appreciate your presence in the program. And I hope that you'll lead the way for others to appear as well. And I would like to begin today's Q&A by firstly stating that when the coalition government was formed 11 months ago, there was jubilation in the country. There was a huge expectation for change. And in fact, the campaign itself was run on the premise that a change was needed and that it was coming. Now, there are many, and in fact, if social media comments are to go by, there is genuine concern that the coalition has not done too good in their first year. Some have even said that this government is no better than the former Fiji First government when it comes to appointment on boards, bringing people together. What is your assessment, Mr. DPM, of the performance of the coalition government in its first year in office?
Yeah, thank you, Sashi. I mean, I think in your comments you've touched on probably the major seismic shift in the country. And that is the fact that people can express their views openly and without fear or favor. I was watching LinkedIn the other day, and and one of the personalities that I was watching said something like, "We're living in a pseudo democracy," and I realized that this is what this change has brought: the ability to speak openly, the ability for us to listen and hear concerns. I mean, we live in the world of social media now, where things are very different. Any decision you make is looked at very quickly. But Sashi, I'm hoping that over time, people will realize that there is a major change that's happening in the country. The ability to, like I said, the ability to speak, the ability to express concerns, the ability to question government on decisions. That's all part of the democracy. I mean, let's not forget, Shashi, just about 12 months ago, to the day as we were speaking, freedom of the press did not exist. Absolutely did not exist. And today we have not only freedom of the press, we have self-regulation by the media. And those are, significant changes, actually. I get, the concerns by various people, and I respect that. Everyone's entitled to their views, and be assured, Shashi, we are a government that listens to concerns, and so I hope that as this government continues to serve, and you watch how we conduct ourselves, that the feeling of change that I sense can be more widely seen around the country. But like I said, everybody is entitled to their own views. The change of, there's other things that we changed, actually, in that this first 8 months. The GCC, we reintroduced the GCC. This ludicrous law about women having to change their birth certificates in order to vote. All these things are out the window, and and we're only getting started, Shashi. There's a lot to change in the legislation. At the moment we're just doing amendments, but there will be structural changes as well that we will introduce, in due course. So my personal view, Sashi, is look, respect everybody's views, but from a personal perspective, there's been major changes. In my workplace, the staff confide in me and say that they are enjoying themselves. It's a different kind of environment. It's collaborative. There's no command and control kind of system. So I'm hoping all of these will flow through, and and then there'll be a lot more appreciation about what the coalition, the people's government, is trying to do. Yeah.
It's great that the government says that it listens to the people.
Yeah.
In terms of your assessment, what would you score between 1 and 10 the government's first year in office? What would you score yourself?
Yeah, like, I mean, Sachi, from my perspective, I think we've done very well. I don't want to give a score. I'll leave that to the public to give a score, because ultimately they will decide whether we've done a good job or not. But honestly, if you ask me honestly, I think we've done a really good job considering the circumstances. We've had 16 years of a different kind of style of leadership, and we are slowly trying to unravel or unlock the various things that have become ingrained or institutionalized in the whole system. Without giving a score, in my view, we've done very well, and in keeping with our decisions to deliver on our promises. That's I think something that I hope the people of Fiji can see that whatever we said we do, we are doing it. Maybe some people are saying we're slow, but we are doing it and laser focused on trying to keep on going. Yeah.
Thank you for that response. And I note that you didn't give yourself a score, perhaps. That's a wise thing. The people will judge you regardless.
Yes.
And I guess at the end of the year or next year, people will either change their mind or they'll be much more critical than what they are now.
Sure.
Deputy Prime Minister, what is the coalition government's plan for the second year in office, second
Yeah.
year in power? Can you share some of those
Yeah,
plans?
of course, Sachi. I mean, basically essentially the plan that we've set. If you look back at the manifestos of the various parties, and then overlay that with the first budget that we brought out as a People's Coalition, the theme of that whole vision was rebuilding Fiji. And so essentially, if you look at that budget closely, there are some key things that are happening in there to try and rebuild Fiji from a physical sense and infrastructure sense. For example, we all agree that our hospitals are in the stories that the Minister of Health tells us in terms of the condition of our hospitals is shocking, Chachi. And now, a lot of investment is going into the hospitals, the education system. Our Honorable Minister for Education is just conducted a summit. He's now reviewing the universities or in the process. So, like, if anything, Ms. Shashi, we are. I'd like to think rebuilding the country, to be quite honest, and doing it in a meticulous, methodical way to ensure that some of the key promises are delivered on. So those are so if you ask me what we're doing, there's obviously in my ministry, we're laser focused on economic diversification, Sashi. Yeah. So
Well,
I'll talk about that. I know you want to ask me a specific question there, but there's all the ministers are laser focused on what they want to do. Rural development. There's so many good initiatives that are in there about rural housing. Encouraging empowerment of the rural economy, and we all trying to work together. So empowering women. You can see the Minister for Women really ramping up the discussions around gender violence, gender-based violence. So these are all transformative things that we're trying to do to create the building blocks of the new, what I think is the new Fiji, Shashi. And some people might disagree with me, but I just think that we will continue to try and build a country that does have a lot to offer, and I just feel that we have a lot of opportunities to do some real good for the people of Fiji.
all right. Well, that is why I say that I extend that invitation to your government ministers, your assistant ministers, to come on this platform, share their vision for Fiji in their respective portfolios. I'd love to talk to Linda Tambuya about women, issues on poverty, about domestic violence, etc. I'd love to hear from Filimoni Vosarongo on the land issues. Prior to the election, we spoke about all these issues that was affecting people, the okay. Election's gone. You're in government. Talk to me. I won't bite, I promise. So if you could extend that to your cabinet,
Yeah.
my invitation is come on the platform. Let's talk about your portfolio. Let's talk about programs so that the people of Fiji can understand and accept that there's work in the pipelines, which now brings me to your particular portfolio. You are the Minister for Trade, Cooperatives, Small and Medium Enterprises, and Communications. Now, that's a huge responsibility, particularly when you look at trade on the one hand, communications on the other. And today I intend to cover all aspects of your
Sure.
portfolio, other issues of governance in Fiji, issues that are affecting the people of Fiji. So I hope you'll stay with me
Sure.
and we engage in this discussion. So, as I said, it's a huge responsibility, your portfolio. What has been your biggest challenge so far in your portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, I'm I always consider myself a glass half full guy, Sachi. So
Hmm.
I don't really look at anything that as challenges per se, but more as a opportunity to either do something constructive or remove the obstacle, if you like, if it's not if it's there in front of me. So in terms of challenge, or if you want to call it opportunities. Like I said, one of the major things for me is I used to hear Savannah Rumbe when I was a little graduate out of university from New South Wales Uni talk
Hmm.
about economic diversification. He was the finance permanent secretary, I believe, at the time, and then became the Reserve Bank governor. And
Yes.
we are now in 2023, and we still talk about economic diversification, Chachi. So my one of my major challenges or opportunities is to really try and unlock the opportunity in economic diversification. And for me, it's very simple. It means a couple of major things. One is a move to more commercial agriculture, similar to where sugar is. A move to more commercial aquaculture, and that's an area where we don't have any major players. We do have PEFCO as well that has a potential to contribute a lot more. They have some challenges as well, and when you ask, well, if you ask me where the future is, it's in the services, Sashi, the trading services. And so, the fact that we have just concluded discussions with Google to install a second cable into Fiji, it's all part of the play for economic diversification.
I'll come.
And
I'll come
yeah,
to I'll
yeah,
come to some of those huge development announcements that you've made in
yeah,
recent times, such as Google. I want
yeah,
to cover that separately
yeah.
because
Yeah,
that
so
sounds it's a big project.
yeah, so
So I'll come to that.
like all I'm saying, Shashi, is in terms of one of the key things. If you like, you can call it a challenge or you can call it an opportunity. The to try and really develop economic diversification. And one of the things, I guess, one of the good news things about the Fijian economy is, whilst we're trying to diversify, tourism is just firing away. At the moment, we've heard about through Andre from Fiji Airways the issue around bed shortage,
Mm.
and I can say that there's a lot of discussions, advanced discussions on major hotel construction, and that's another thing that's bumbling in the background. So and for the ministry, particularly, certainly from the investment side, it's how you just continue to make business easy to do, or unravel some of the bottlenecks that investors do find in Fiji. So that's the other thing that that we're sort of looking at, Sashi, is just Fiji needs to transition to a digitized economy, and very serious about that. There's a lot of focus that's going in that at the moment. We are going through the first steps of the ease of doing business, like automating business approval processes. Hopefully, the first batch comes out around June, July next year, all going well. And hopefully then, the investors, the people of Fiji can start seeing some tangible changes. I think one of the, on reflection, when people are saying they're not seeing the change, let's not forget that, in order to effect change, you need to create the building blocks to enable the change. That's certainly what I've been doing, Shashi, over the last 12 months. And of course, it's involved a lot of travel.
Yes.
But the trying to re-engage with all our trading partners, identify opportunities to do more, and so these are the things that take a bit of time. These are the things that I consider them challenges and opportunities as well, because if we are able to unlock them, then it creates a lot of major opportunity for our country.
All right. I accept that. And I think you are one of those ministers where a lot of traveling has been justified, as you said, trying to reconnect with our trading partners of the past. And that's important. Deputy Prime Minister, you mentioned investment in Fiji. Would you rate investment in Fiji as a safe, stable, and profitable venture? Is investment in Fiji a viable proposition, or is it a hard sell as a minister? Do you find it hard to sell that concept overseas?
Yeah, right now there's a lot of interest in Fiji, and part of it's driven, Sashi, by the momentum out of COVID, and a lot of international businesses are looking around for opportunity. Part of it's the fact that there's a new government in place, and perhaps, if you ask me, probably more investor friendly, or willing to engage with the investors. At the moment, there's no secret there are some bottlenecks within government, which sometimes we all get involved in trying to fix. There certainly is a place to invest and a place to make money. Fiji holds its own in terms of a viable proposition, and the key for the ministry as well is, if we continue down, be very disciplined, and just continue unlocking the ease of doing business concerns, and collaborating with private sector, things will become better. So just imagine, Shashi, right now, and the investment Fiji is looking at a pipeline of investment that's up to around about 5 billion of potential opportunity. Some of them have started digging holes in the ground, such as the Sofitel Batutale project. And so, like, these are sort of like, if we are able to unlock some of these projects over the next year, things are going to be good for Fiji.
All right. In July this year, you announced that Fiji should be expecting more overseas investors. You mentioned the Fiji Business Now platform that was supposed to remove the unnecessary bottlenecks in
Correct.
business startups in a transparent exercise.
Correct.
You mentioned bottlenecks a short while ago. How
Yes.
successful have you been in this regard?
Yeah. So I mean, the actual project. What I did when I got into office was actually review the whole decision. This is something that had been started by the previous government, actually. So I did a review of that, and then we made the decision to continue with the transformation. And we are at the moment, if you like, at the front end of actually developing the actual platform. So over the next 6 months, that's why I was saying by July, or June, July next year, we should see the fruits, if you like, of that of the work that's been undertaken.
Okay.
So, like, what I'm saying is, besides that, Chachi, what we've done, one of the initiatives we did in the ministry was we created a investment facilitation committee, and that committee basically eyeballs all the investment that comes through investment Fiji or into Fiji, and then we try and assist where we can, and that's getting a lot of good positive feedback as well, because one of the things that, you have to credit the previous government. They changed the brief of the investment Fiji into a less regulatory authority, but into a facilitative authority. I've come on board and just introduced this investment facilitation committee, which creates more visibility around projects and pushes projects ahead. So, and we're getting a lot of good feedback around customer investors feeling that things are being done well, or they're being listened to, and it's there's an endeavor to resolve issues.
You are watching Sashi Singh's Talking Point on Facebook and YouTube Live. We ask the questions that Fijians all over the world want answers to. As I say, Fijians want to know. Our chief guest today is the Deputy Prime Minister of Fiji, the Honourable Manoa Kamikamica. Sir, your Ministry of Communications has granted a spectrum license to the Elon Musk-owned Starlink Fiji to provide internet services in Fiji, and Telecommunications Authority of Fiji has granted them a telecommunication license. How is this going to be a game changer for Fiji?
Yeah, thank you, Shashi. When I got into office, I always felt satellites were like the last resort in terms of communications. And through Starlink and some other providers, they've now brought the satellites lower, to a lower orbit level. So, which means that virtually the speed is almost similar to internet speed. If you've got, proper access. So, like, that was what Starlink was offering. And they approached us. They had approached the previous government, obviously, as soon as I got on board, had a discussion with the existing players in Fiji through consultation discussions, and just felt that Starlink could be an actual good offering for Fiji, particularly with remote settings. As you know, Shashi, there's a lot of valuable infrastructure, particularly hotel infrastructure, that's out there beyond the normal channels of communication that need good access. And Starlink does provide that access. It also provides redundancy for disaster management. The other thing is, Starlink will still have to work with the telcos in terms of providing a back channel for communications. So the price points are a bit higher than normal price points, Sachi. So it's targeting a certain clientele, but certainly as a means of access, it's very, very good, and certainly government's going to be looking closely at it in terms of looking at rural communications, which is part of our brief. We are looking at connecting the remaining 5% of Fiji, and certainly Starlink does provide an offering in that area.
I think you've partially answered my next question, and I'm not trying to rain on your parade in any way at all.
That's okay.
While SpaceX's Starlink has promised to bridge the digital divide with, as you said, the constellation of low Earth orbit satellites,
Yes.
and as the network grows, there are certain disadvantages that have come to light, raising concerns among users and some of the industry observers. And one of the primary drawbacks of Starlink, as you've alluded to, is cost. The initial investment of the Starlight dish itself and
Mm.
equipment, coupled with the monthly subscription fee,
Yeah.
is significantly higher than traditional broadband services.
Yeah.
Now, this sort of pricing model puts it out of reach for many potential users, especially in developing regions such as ours.
Yeah.
For instance, Starlink in Australia costs $139 per month for unlimited data. There's
Yeah.
also a one time equipment fee of $924. You mentioned trying to reach 5% of the population, and you mentioned targeted markets. How affordable do you think, Mr. Minister, this Starlink service will be for the ordinary Fijian?
Yeah, what we've endeavored to do, Sashi, is bring Starlink into the market, and their pricing structure is their pricing structure. That's according to what they have, and as a government, we welcome the technology being available. From a government perspective, we do have funds that are collected from the telcos that goes into a pool of money that we can then use to roll out the 5% connectivity,
Okay.
and some of that could be Starlink provided. Some of it could be just normal towers that we look at. At the moment, there's a team in the ministry focusing on that. Hopefully, I can make a sort of a tangible announcement on that in the first quarter of next year, just to ensure that we, again, was a promise to the people of Fiji, and we want to start rolling that out in the next year. But yeah, I agree, Sashi. At the moment, the pricing may be a bit prohibitive, but certainly for certain markets, particularly hotels, all of a sudden, some of the far-flung hotels that have no connectivity will now have availability, and that just enhances the offering in terms of tourism as well, the ability to connect when we need to. So, yeah, so at the moment, yeah, the pricing is maybe a bit too high, but again, it's market supply and market forces will come into play. But I see certain significant use being able to be deployed now, particularly in disaster management, and also in areas where there's remoteness is a significant impediment, and Starlink can provide that reliable connectivity. Yeah.
As I said right at the beginning, I was not trying to rain on your parade.
Sure.
Look, I'm all for it. This is a service that can reach remote areas.
Yeah.
It's like user pay. If you
Yeah.
can afford it, you can pay
Yeah.
for it. And I love the fact that in those resorts, in those outer islands, to attract that overseas visitor who
Yeah.
still wants to keep in touch with business, with home, there is that internet connectivity, which is very, very important nowadays for the modern traveler. They want
Yeah.
everything in the palm of their hands
Yeah.
to be able to connect to the world. So well done. That's
Thank you.
a brilliant exercise.
Yeah.
And
If I could just add, Shashi, don't forget all the kava farmers that are out there. Some of these guys are earning big bucks, and they're out planting. So, just imagine one of them sitting with a satellite Starlink connect out in the bushes, and they can reach anybody that they need to. When say the buyers want to negotiate pricing, it's no longer you have to go to the post office or somewhere or go up to a hill somewhere to get your connectivity. So it'll unlock more economic activity. I believe in terms of the overall economy in Fiji. Yeah.
well, I love it because hopefully that will grow our SSTP audience as well
Thank
in
you.
the far remote places as well. Deputy Prime Minister Kamikamica, you will, I hope, agree that prior to the elections, I'm now moving on to other subjects.
Sure.
Uh, there was much noise made by all of those in the opposition, um, candidates, opposition candidates, that they were going to be, or they were all going to get to the bottom of several alleged scams in the country.
Hmm.
I would now like to discuss some of this with you,
Sure.
and I'd like to start with the Walesi saga. In
Sure.
April this year, you said, and I quote, "The story of Walesi is a classic example of government overreach, excessive control, wastage, and mismanagement. And because of government overreach, $125 million of taxpayers' money is wasted." End of quote. Let me ask you, sir, what is happening to the investigations on the Walesi fiasco?
Yeah, thank you. It's again, it's one of the things that's taking a bit of time to. The investigation is still ongoing. It's one of the things that's taking a bit of time, partly because there's a financial aspect to the Walesi investigations. There's also a technical aspect, and at the moment we're trying to get the technical aspect sort of worked out, Sashi, and without because I have to be mindful of confidentiality, but basically, the what I am seeing is that there's the technology that was used may have possibly been antiquated or outdated, and so that's what we're trying to investigate a bit more, because that points to the question around wastage. So it's still ongoing. Hoping to conclude that in the new year.
Okay.
And of course, there's also the financial aspect as well. And yeah.
Deputy Prime Minister, while I can accept certain issues of confidentiality, um, let me take it another step forward.
Sure.
You said in your ministerial statement in April this year that there could have been potential abuse of office and
Hmm.
even a misleading of Parliament. Now,
Yeah.
this is serious stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Are you in a position to tell us what has been uncovered so far
Yeah.
and whether anyone is expected to be charged?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can't divulge details, but the reason why I said what I said, Shashi, is if you look at the way the whole Walesi proposition was developed,
Hmm.
there was no, as far as I can see, and there was no financial evaluation on the feasibility of Walesi. Um, the way in which the money was spent in Parliament, we're sort of having a close look, but I feel it wasn't fully disclosed in Parliament because if you look back at the Hansard reports, everybody was talking about 60 million because a lot of the money was channeled through a trust account. These are the things that we're kind of looking at, and hopefully, of course, we need to sort of get to the bottom of it. But these are some of the things that are apparent. But yeah, like I said, I'm keen to also assess it from a technological perspective, because again, for argument's sake, Sashi, without if we establish that we were dealing with technology that should have never been used for Walesi, that's a very serious issue. And then there's questions around were there tenders, who did the technological assessment, all those issues come into play, Shashi. So there's a bit of work to be done, but I certainly am committed to getting to the bottom of it, and in good time we'll share the outcomes.
Well, I mean, I'll wait for that day, but there's some startling figures that I just want to run by you, sir.
Um,
You reported to the House that as per information provided by your ministry,
Mhm.
in 2016 and 2017, there
Mm.
was $23.7 million. I repeat,
Yeah.
$23.7 million spent from the trust account that you just
Yeah.
mentioned.
Correct.
But in the budget for 2016 and 2017, there was only a disclosure of $2 million.
Mm.
Now, to me, there's only one explanation for this. It simply means that the former Fiji First government did not disclose to the people of Fiji how much it was truly spending on Walesi from the
Yeah.
trust account. Now, would that be a correct analysis on my part? And is this not deemed as misleading the people of Fiji?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Shashi, I've already raised the issue in Parliament, and I don't want to sort of talk more until we actually get the report out. But yeah, I mean, like I said in Parliament, there are some concerns with with some of the disclosures. Yeah, correct.
Okay. All right. I mean, you have a corporate world background, correct?
Yes,
More than 30 years experience, as I know.
correct.
Now, in the corporate world, would this not be regarded as corporate malfeasance?
You'd be
Where,
fired. You'd
yeah,
be
where
fired, Shashi. Hmm.
fired and charged and
Yeah,
perhaps face a jail term.
yeah.
All right. Well, you said investigations are going on. When can the people of Fiji expect the audit investigation to finish and the
Yeah, look,
final report?
yeah, like I mean, at the moment we're sort of trying to complete follow up on the technical side of things, and so it'll certainly be next year, Shashi. I'm trying to wrap it up as soon as possible, but again, we just need to kind of step through this methodically just to make sure everything's captured properly, and then we can kind of disclose the full report to the people of Fiji. Yeah. But the concerns as you raised them are correct in terms of what we are seeing. Yeah.
Just a very quick question, and I'll leave Walesi behind. Um, would you be able to say whether Fiji really needed Walesi and whether $125 million was a reasonable amount to spend?
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you look at, I mean, forget about the cost and the amount, Sashi.
Mhm.
As a service to the people of Fiji, it is providing a service, and if anything, it has been, a lot of people are using it. There's still issues with some of the transmission issues. Sometimes people don't get signals. But from that perspective, in providing access to service for the people of Fiji, yes, there was it's a good initiative from that perspective. However, looking at both the due diligence, the feasibility, the way that whole, like I mean, there was zero consultation with the existing providers. Actually. I
Mm.
mean, how can you bring something on board without actually any consultation? And the consultation, from what I hear, was you get on or you won't get your license renewed. That was basically the type of intimation that was happening. So, but as a service, I can see a lot of families in the villages use them. You get access to the news, you get access to sports, so access to Parliament as well. For those who want to watch what goes on in Parliament,
Mhm.
then there's also access to that at one stage they were using it for. Normally, it's used for educational purposes as well. So certainly in terms of if you look at without looking at the due process and how flawed that was, but purely look at the intent. The intent was good, Shash. It may have been could have cost less, maybe, but we'll find out that for sure.
Don't start me off on the lack of consultation. There's so many things that has happened in Fiji without the lack of consultation,
Yes,
referendum. The
yeah,
Constitution is just one of those things. Let's move on.
yes,
The Grace Road Church. which has been described as a cult uprooted from South Korea, relocated to Fiji in 2014, convincing some 400 of its followers that Fiji was a sanctuary from an impending global famine and drought. Some members present in Fiji have been wanted since 2018 by the South Korean government as well as by Interpol. Now, Deputy Prime Minister, after the coalition government came into power, you were leading the investigation into Grace Road's dealings with the Fiji First government and its acquisition of some 31 lands, properties across Fiji. What is your investigation primarily based on, and why is it taking so long to make a finding?
Yeah. Thank you, Sashi. Look, on the Grace Roads one, for now, I'm because there's the matters are there's some matters before the court. I'm just gonna take a precautionary approach and not sort of enter into discussions. Obviously there are some court matters now, and I've kind of prefer not to kind of discuss anything at the risk of prejudicing the current court case. But that aside, I mean, Grace Road has certainly raised the standards of retail in the country, and provided excellent service to the country, and it's actually appreciated by the bulk of Fiji. And so, at the moment, I can't really say much more than that, but because of obviously the court case. As soon as everything resolves in the court case, then I might be allowed to open my mouth again.
All right. I can respect that. You're not even going to tell us when the investigation is going to be complete?
No comment, actually. Yeah.
All right, let's look at some of the other alleged scams over the period of the last 16 years when the Fiji First government were in power. Several alleged corruptions, fiascos. For example, the $12 million Latoka swimming pool scam, the $33 million Water Authority digger scam, the allegations surrounding the FSC funds, etc., would all be investigated and brought to light. Sir, has any of the alleged scams been brought to light up to today?
Yeah, Shashi, right now there's behind the scenes, as I understand it, there's investigations continuing into other allegations, and those will be, I'd imagine, be brought forward at the right time. Can't say more than that, but certainly, the government remains committed to having a look at all things that were obviously of concern and were raised during the election time. Yeah.
Well, I just hope that time doesn't run out and all of these so-called scams get swept under the carpet, because time is of the essence, and if investigations are not done promptly,
Yeah.
people will have this burning desire to know.
Yeah.
It's something that has to be done.
Yeah.
In quite a quick fashion manner. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Sashi, we live in a democracy now, and there's due process, right, on both sides, and so we have to allow, gone are the days where people get instructed to do things directed at individuals. Those days are gone. We have to allow the mechanics of government to turn it, and so it's a. I know that there's everybody's out there saying please get things done, but we have to be mindful that certainly where I'm not going to interfere in due process. Due process has to be allowed to take its course, but I do note, what you've raised, which is a general concern broadly, I'm sure.
All right, I'll be touching on due process. I'll be touching on the rule of law as we continue our exchange this today. A final quick question before we move on. During the 2022 general election countdown, um, rather the election night, there was the infamous glitch, as we were told. And
Yes.
then you guys were supposed to carry out some investigations as to
Yeah.
what was the glitch. Has
Yeah.
anything been found out about the glitch?
Yeah, I think in terms of there's a publication out from the Supervisor of Elections Office on the 2022 elections. Just got tabled in Parliament. I've got a copy. I'm going to plow through that. In terms of our own tracking, we didn't. In the end, like our tracking didn't quite uncover anything that looked strange from what we saw. But it wasn't a 100% cover of all results in the country. But the report from the elections office will be an interesting read. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll wait to see what comes out of that.
Yeah.
Have a break, have a sip of water. When we come back, we talk about pornography and the internet and the concerns. You are watching Sashi Singh's Talking Point, and our chief guest today is Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Trade, Cooperatives, Small and Medium Enterprises, and Communications, the Honorable Manoa Kamikamica. Please like and follow the SSTP page and share the page if you can. So let me now turn our attention to the issue of pornography, adult content sites, and the issue of children accessing these in Fiji with gay abandon. This week in Parliament, you were asked if there were any plans by a coalition government to ban or regulate pornographic sites in Fiji. You revealed in Parliament that the adult content and pornographic sites is one of the top 10 most used data traffic in Fiji. Are there any plans to ban such sites?
Yeah, thank you, Shashi. I'm not wanting to preempt the final outcome of what we intend to do, but obviously, you can probably, it's fair to say that the whole of Fiji is concerned with what everyone's seeing, and so most likely, what the Prime Minister's agreed to is, I obviously have to go to Cabinet and get approval to do a nationwide consultation. The Honorable Minister for Women is very keen to do the consultation, clearly because of the issues involved. What we're going to do is step through. It's very complex, as you would appreciate as a lawyer, Shashi, because of the privacy issues and those kind of issues. So whilst I don't have an authority to say that we're going to ban any sites, but it's a valid enough concern that the People's Coalition government has even invited the opposition to be part of a joint task force to address this issue. And it is a concern, actually, the amount of traffic that runs on the amount of data that's queued up through the pornographic sites. Yeah.
You've talked about a task force consultation. Can Parliament not determine this issue on its own?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been reading up on some data and correspondence and research on pornographic issues and banning and that kind of thing, and it's quite complex. some of the correspondence I've been reading is saying, look, there's no guarantee that you can ban sites because they can go through proxies and access information through other means. So, what we're really talking about, Sashi, is a, sort of a multifaceted approach. But we'd like to tackle this as a national issue, and then sort of whatever we decide on becomes the national policy of the day. But I think we need to consult widely before we start deciding on whatever course of action we need to take.
How do you think Fiji has got itself in this sort of a situation
Yeah.
where children are having such open access to pornography?
Yeah, I mean, clearly in this day and age, Shashi, the access to social media is very easy, with Fiji, the penetration of mobile in Fiji is very high, and so we've like I said in Parliament, I could place the issue at the doorstep of the last government because nothing was done, but I think to do that it's such a major national issue that those kind of political one-upmanships are probably not worth anything. There is a clear problem, and we need to do something about it. And so, we need to just make sure we do the groundwork and come up with a set of comprehensive policies. When I'm looking at some of the write-ups, Sashi, it talks about, there's awareness, there's a bit of education that needs to happen in the education system. Even children and their parents, the parents being able to block sites on, the kids' phones or watching what the kids are doing. These are some of the things that maybe our parents are not aware of. So it's a multifaceted approach, Shashi. If the mood for banning is there, the government will listen to that as well.
Deputy Prime Minister, when you look at the high incidence of domestic violence in Fiji, when you look at a number of societal ills, do you think there's a moral decay in the social fabric of the Fijian society, or would that be a wrong assumption?
Yeah, I think in Parliament, certainly the last sitting, I did talk about yeah, this rebuild of the new Fiji is not only an economic rebuild. There's various layers that need to be addressed, Sashi. And one of it is certainly the moral and social fabric of our society, and challenging ourselves whether we are where we are supposed to be. And I think if we forget about politics, and just look at it as in the clear light of day, there are major concerns out there, Sachi. The Honorable Pio talked about a national crisis in drugs. And it's no secret there's glue sniffing happening. It's rampant amongst our youth. And so these are some of the things that you will find, Sashi, that this government is actually actively looking at. There's a bill that will eventually come to the House that deals with glue sniffing and all those ills as well. Again, I can play politics and accuse the other side of doing nothing, but I think it's time that we have the mantle of leadership now. It's our responsibility to fix it, and guaranteed, Shashi, certainly from me, like and all of our leadership team, we will take steps to try and address these ills.
All right. I wish you and your team all the best in trying to correct the social ills of the country as best and as soon as you can do. I now want to move on about parliamentary allowances, travel allowances. That's been a topic of hot debate. And as you know, on SSTP, we'd always question and challenge guests last year, prior to the elections, about the per diem of $3,000 claimed by the former Prime Minister Bainimarama for
Hmm.
travel. And I knew that, or I can recall that just about everybody was critical. I even questioned Deputy Prime Minister Biman Prasad when he was a guest on SSTP a few weeks ago on the same issue. Now, you said earlier this week that in your 30 years career in the private sector, you've never seen the type of allowances that were paid to the Fiji First government.
Hmm.
The Minister of Finance, Biman Prasad, told Parliament this week that the previous government used $74 million in total travel expenditure allowances during their reign 2014 to 2022. Firstly, what is your reaction when an expenditure of $74 million is shown for that period?
Yeah, I wasn't aware it was that huge, but certainly, as I explained in Parliament, Sashi, the UN allowances are looked at as the gold standard for allowances in the private sector.
Mhm.
And so, by nature, being the private sector, your allowance is generally below that gold standard, because what you do is go around by country and assess the costs in each country, and then peg your allowances based on what you think is a reasonable allowance. And that's why I felt that the allowances were excessive, and we did promise to get it fixed, and it's now done.
All right, but looking at it again, when Prime Minister Sitiveni Rambuka appeared on this program before the elections, he said that was going to be a priority.
Hmm.
Then, when he got into government, he said he was waiting for legislation to alter the per diem that he received, and then said that the reduction could not, and I quote, operationalize earlier due to legal advice given to the government at that time. End of quote. Do you know who it was that gave that legal advice to the
Yeah.
Prime Minister, and what was the nature of that advice?
Yeah, basically, Shashi, anything to do with the salaries and allowances for parliamentarians generally gets channeled through emoluments committee. So we had actually made a cabinet decision in April to adjust the allowances, and then so we just we thought, okay, the emoluments committee is meeting, let's channel. That process had to take place and then come out with a result. But it just so happened that because the emoluments committee was meeting and having discussions on other matters, the timeline was kind of shifting and drifting. And so the Prime Minister and Honorable Biman just felt that we needed to act quickly and bring it to Parliament earlier than rather waiting for the Emoluments Committee to make a final decision. So from our perspective, Shashi, okay, maybe we should have done it earlier, and we take note of that. It's 1 year versus 8 years, or probably 16 years of allowances being that way. Let's not forget, Shashi, for 8 years they hid all their remuneration from the people of Fiji through an accounting firm, and so who knows what was being paid then. The important thing is that we did promise, we've delivered on that promise, we're going to move on and put it, in like one of the things certainly for me, it's a learning as a new politician and new in government that sometimes processes just take a lot longer. In private sector, you just say get it done and it's done the same day, right? But we had to follow the processes. We eventually agreed that the process was taking too long, and it was channeled through the last sitting of Parliament. And so it's done now, and we move on.
Well, what you've just said, the wheels of government then moves very slowly at times. Now, I just want to touch on one more aspect of that allowance issue. You confirmed this week that as soon as the coalition got into office, you yourself reduced your overseas travel from 200% to 100%, and some other ministers did the same. What prompted or motivated you to seek a reduction in your overseas travel allowance from the start?
Yeah, it's just I don't want to labor the point here, Sashi, but it's just me. The people that know me well know that sometimes I'm wired a bit differently, and I just felt we had made a promise, and contrary to the advice of my staff, I just said, look, let's reduce the loading from 200% to 100. And that's what we did, and we kept it at that until this formal change. So yeah, it's just it was an individual decision by them, the ministers that decided to get done. I'm not using it to cast aspersions on anybody. It's just Manoa Kamikamica being Manoa Kamikamica. That's all. Yeah.
All right. I certainly don't understand why there has to be a loading of 200% on that allowance, but that's me personally.
Yeah.
Just another question before we move on. Do you think it was fair on the people of Fiji who are on struggle street, really struggling, making ends meet? And then here we have a situation in the same Fiji where members of parliaments are earning hundreds of thousands of dollars in travel allowances. That just doesn't gel with me.
Yeah.
What do you say to that, sir?
Yeah, like I said, Shashi, in terms of, these guys were, the previous government was enjoying it for, depending on how you look at it, probably 8 years or 16 years. And so, we've come in and we've changed it. Maybe not as quickly as we should have. That's a learning on our part. But like I said, it's done. It's a promise that we undertook to keep, and we now move on with the bigger issues of that are ahead of us in trying to serve the people of Fiji.
All right. One thing I won't agree with you, and I say that respectfully, just do not compare what the previous government did in taking this exorbitant amount of allowances
Sure.
to the delays in why your government didn't. Um, you know,
Yeah, see,
uh,
the fundamental difference is, Shashi, that let's not forget, we've done something about it. We
all
could have
right.
just waited, we could have waited till next year when the Embezzlement Committee makes a decision. They could have made a decision in December next year. So, we tried to follow due process. We worked out that it wasn't enough. And so we acted. And, again, from my perspective, we've done the right thing, and we've kept our promise in terms of cutting down the allowances, which were excessive, as you
Well,
are concerned with.
well, thank God it's happened, and to you, for your conscience, to immediately reduce the allowance. Well done. Thank you for that. I
Yeah, look,
sincerely say
like
that.
I said, Sashi, this is not about me. It's just that I took exception to one of the comments by the leader of opposition, because he said I was trapezing around the world making money. So I couldn't let that perception linger in the minds of the people, because he was talking in a public setting. So, but again, that wasn't meant to cast aspersions on anybody. It's just those who know me just know that I sometimes do strange things. Yeah.
All right. I would now like to shift the focus on the power sharing basis of the coalition government, and especially about consultation between the three parties. The Prime Minister recently made his captain's call on the UN resolution, and Fiji's government had come under fire over its decision to vote against a UN resolution calling for a humanitarian ceasefire in the Gaza Israeli conflict. Your coalition partner, the NFP, came out and strongly disagreed with Fiji's stance in the UN vote. The NFP said it had the right to disagree on issues and policies of the coalition government, which, in its view, and I quote, hurt our reputation as a nation, isn't in the national interest, and is against the objectives and principles of the party, end of quote. Deputy Prime Minister, does it concern you that on such a divisive issue, there was no consultation with Cabinet? The PM
Yeah.
made the call.
Yeah, I mean, Sashi, now and again, as you know, in a democracy, the Prime Minister has the last say. And, in this case, he's decided to proceed with what was actually decided. Certainly as my leader and the leader of the government, I respect that decision. NFP has every right to share what they shared. But and that's healthy as well from a coalition perspective. We respect NFP for raising it at the time. It's duly taken note, but at the moment, the decisions by the Prime Minister stand. So, from our perspective, or certainly my perspective, that's the decision of the government of the day.
All right. There was another decision made by the Prime Minister which didn't stand, and that was when the Prime Minister made another call that was on the cabinet reshuffle. We all know what happened, and perhaps had not the Fiji Law Society intervened, at least the Attorney General reshuffle would have taken place. Again, there was no consultation. Do you think this type of announcement and then the retractment of the same inspires confidence within the coalition and provides for peace and stability within the coalition ranks?
Yeah. I think the most positive the positive aspect of the reshuffle is the fact that the Prime Minister is always willing to listen. And we've had 16 years, Sashi, of someone who refuses to listen to anybody, or two people that refuse to listen to anybody. And so, Fiji should be happy that you have a leader, a national leader who has served the country in so many ways, is willing to listen, and if he feels that the initial advice was not the correct advice, he makes a decision, and we should be thankful for that, Shashi. Because what we've had for the last 16 years is we cannot go down that road. That's certainly my take on it, and I think all of us in the party, just knows that our leader, listens to everybody, and he, in this case, made a decision to hold off on the reshuffle, and that's after taking additional advice from other people. So to me, it's a positive, Shashi.
All right. I mean, sometimes decisions are made where the reasons behind those decisions are not shared, and it creates a lot of speculation
Yeah,
amongst the population. For
yeah,
instance, the sudden removal of Linda Tamuya as the government whip, we were told it was because of some issues between the speaker and the government. Now,
yeah.
I do not believe that there was any explanation provided as to what the issues were. Are you in any position to share and explain what happened?
Yeah, not really, Shashi. I mean, other than the Honorable Prime Minister said what you actually said, and like as a like for all of us, Shashi, even myself, like in a democracy, you serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister in whatever role, and so whatever role you have, it's not you don't own it. At some stage, the Prime Minister might want you to go and do something else. And that's how the system works, eh? And as a group, as a coalition group, we totally get that. And so I mean, the Prime Minister said what he said in regard to Honorable Tambuya, and I don't have any other additional information to it other than like Honorable Tambuya and me, we serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister. If he wants to make some changes, that's his prerogative.
All right. I mean, I perhaps should be directing these questions to the Prime Minister, but unfortunately, he's not my guest, and you are you are nonetheless the Deputy Prime Minister, and
Yes.
at any given time, you could be the Prime Minister. We'll come to that. Let me now address the rule of law, whether it's embraced or really neglected in Fiji. Um, in recent times, there have been judicial appointment as well as the appointment of the acting DPP that has been a cause of concern.
Yeah.
Now, to me, something seems to be fundamentally wrong in Fiji with regards to appointments to high office, especially where constitutional requirements are not adhered to. For instance, the Fiji Law Society, much to its credit, had to raise the concerns with the Prime Minister regarding the reshuffling of the post of the Attorney General. The replacement Attorney General to be, Philemoni Vosarongo, did not have the credentials, according to the Fiji Law Society, to take up the seat of AG because of the disciplinary findings in the past. Similarly, appointments of the acting DPP, a member of the judiciary, Justice Ngetaki, is said to be contrary to the rule of law, contrary to the Constitution. So much so that now there's talk that the Fiji Law Society may initiate legal action to challenge the illegality of such appointments under the Constitution. My question to you, does this not bring the judiciary into disrepute and undermine the rule of law in Fiji?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, Shashi, I think just as an assurance to the people of Fiji, like we're not deliberately sort of out to do things the wrong way or sort of contravene the law. Eh?
Mhm.
And in the case of the DPP, from what I've been told, the Chief Justice has already made some utterances or comments around that. And so, the good thing is, Shashi, is these are all active things of discussion, eh? And that's the beauty of this new Fiji and this new government is we are talking, and the law society can see that we're listening, and having discourse. So I just want to assure the people of Fiji that all of us are listening. There are discussions that have happened. I haven't heard anything about legal action by the law society, but it's we're just in a healthy environment, actually, where um, people can actually raise concerns directly and know that they'll be heard. And so that to me is if anything, is the most significant point in what's happening in Fiji right now. Sure, maybe some people think that we maybe have erred in some way, but it's healthy having the conversations and then the discussions that follow. So that's how I'm doing that at the moment, and we know the senior leaders in the law society, and they certainly have an open channel to discuss things with the Prime Minister, with the Deputy Prime Ministers, the Attorney General as well, and so I'm sure that there'll be more active conversations going forward. But rest assured, to the people of Fiji, we are not here to do what the previous mob used to do.
Well, I guess that matter will probably end up in court, and a court decision is going to determine those constitutional issues. Let me look at the situation of the military versus the government. Since the coalition government has taken office, there have been occasions where the military has had to remind the government of the importance of not breaching the 2013 constitution. My question to you, sir, is should the people of Fiji be concerned about the military invoking its powers to suspend constitutional rule under the provisions of Section 131(2) of the Constitution, which reads that it shall be the overall responsibility of the Republic of Fiji military forces to ensure at all times the security, defense, and well being of Fiji and all Fijians? Your comments.
Yeah. Thank you, Shashi. In terms of the Minister of Home Affairs deals directly with the military, but all I can say, Shashi, is if you look at the way we peacefully transitioned into the new government, and we're now operating. To me, that is a big signal to the whole of Fiji that everybody is committed to democracy, and so I think we need to keep that in mind. Of course, you can raise your concerns through the right channels, which what the military has been doing. When they've had concerns, they've raised them. The Law Society has raised concerns when they want to raise them. But I think I've always looked at this election as a gift from God, Sashi. A gift to really set Fiji on a new path. And the fact that the transition happened seamlessly, we are discussing issues in a professional environment where we are all listening to each other. That augurs well for the future of this country, Shashi. For me personally, we cannot afford another round of instability in our country. It's just not. We cannot afford it, and so the way the transition has happened should provide a level of comfort to everybody that that we are transitioning to a new way of doing things. We are transitioning to a way which means that stability is the key for everybody. It's everyone's concern, and so I work hard every day and believe that everybody, irrespective of wherever in Fiji, we all adhere to the principles of democracy and the free speech and also protecting the sanctity of the rule of law. And I think this transition has shown that there are good times ahead, Shashi. And so that if you ask me, am I concerned? Absolutely not, because I just feel that the Fiji that we have now, we've started developing, is one that will ensure that stability is maintained, that we all listen to each other, that we and continue to talk to each other. There are a lot of big challenges ahead, Shashi, on this road after 16 years, but together we can make big changes and positive changes for Fiji.
You mentioned following the rule of law. You
Sure.
mentioned stability.
Yeah.
Let me throw something at you. Uh, do you think there are some who have now assumed power, walked the corridors of power, who have got drunk with this power, and have started poking the bear, which is the RFMF?
Yeah.
There are people talking about the blatant disregard of the Constitution. I mean, would that not be poking the bear? Is this not a naked assault on the integrity of the institutions of the state and the rule of law and violations of the 2013 Constitution, which is still the supreme law in the country?
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, thank you, Joshi. I mean, to be honest, from where I sit, I have no doubt that nobody's going around trying to poke anybody, for that matter. Decisions have been made in what government feels is the right thing for Fiji, and because of the where we are now as a real democracy. We are now exchanging views and taking action if required. And you've cited the case of the Attorney General as one such example. So there's if you ask me if we are going around beating our chests and saying we are invincible, we can do anything. That is absolutely not what we're doing, Shashi. We remain humble. We are focused on doing the right thing. Certainly, the Prime Minister is very committed to doing the right thing. I can tell you a lot of the things that he tells us privately, which just shows his integrity. And I'd just like to assure the viewers there's no wanton desire to defy anybody for that matter. And I think the key thing is that the people of Fiji know that we are listening, we are talking, we will make decisions, when we agree or we disagree. But the good thing is that we're all in an environment where we can talk to each other and express views honestly and openly.
Okay.
So from that perspective, Sashi, I'd just like to assure the viewers, please do not view us as arrogant and trying to defy everybody, because that's certainly not. It's not deliberate. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to touch on a very sensitive subject, and I want to know what is the feeling on the ground there. And I hope by discussing this openly, I don't create any sort of panic. As you know, parliamentary sitting for the year has now concluded, and
Yes.
Parliament will be prorogued on the 4th of December. The coconut wireless, the good old coconut wireless, is in full swing, and we, particularly on this side of the ocean, have been hearing rumblings and rumors of an imminent coup. Some say as early as next week. God forbid that happens. Now, even yesterday, I was told by a client who's a former officer that it is imminent. And the date is 6th December is the date to watch. Have you been hearing anything? Do you think the coalition government carries a huge responsibility if the military does intervene because it says it cannot tolerate breaches of the Constitution? Firstly, what have you heard? Have you heard anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, Sashi, any talk of any rumors of instability of any kind is totally misplaced in my view. I always look back at the peaceful transition as a real signal to the people of Fiji. That we are ushering in a new way of doing leadership in Fiji. Yes, there's some debate over some of the decisions we've taken, but such if you look at it, I mean, if you say, okay, we've been flagrantly defying the rule of law, you know, you can only pick on probably 3 fingers or 4 fingers what can be points of debate. It's not like so. From where I stand, even just the discussion of instability is misplaced. We are all committed to serving this country. We have so many challenges, Shashi, that need to be resolved. Economic, of course, is one of the main ones, and then we discussed the social issues in quite a bit of depth. The people of Fiji are watching and waiting and seeing what this government's going to do. Yes, we maybe differ on certain issues, but this is a democracy. We won't agree on everything, but of course, we still have the freedom to express what we agree or disagree with. So yeah, I mean. For me, there's no one should be concerned, with any issues right now. Everybody's committed to serving the people of Fiji. Yeah.
All right. Well, as I said, that was a rumor. I had to ask you. I
Thank you.
certainly hope your Home Affairs Minister, Pio Tikundundua, is on top of the game and that he has dialogue with the military echelons as well. All right, let's move on. I hope you can spare me a little bit more time. I've got a few
Sure.
important issues to cover. Deputy Prime Minister, I'd like to discuss the leadership issues within the People's Alliance Party. Firstly, how stable is the leadership in the People's Alliance?
Thank you, Shashi. I mean, thank you for the question. This is probably one of the main reasons I wanted to come on your show, was to just put to bed this nonsense. There is absolutely no challenge to the leadership of a prime minister. A lot of us started this journey with him. We believe that he is the right leader for the right time in our country. So we're totally behind him 100%. So this talk about a leadership challenge is just, I think, fantasy. I think is probably the word for it, or someone's got too much time on their hands and is concocting all these wild theories about a leadership challenge. From my perspective, Shashi, there's so much work to be done in Fiji, and our leader is doing a great job. You look back at what he did as soon as he came into office. He rescued a splintered Pacific in a couple of meetings, and we progressed from there. And only he could do that. I don't think anybody other leader could have done what he did in that moment when potentially the future of the Pacific as a regional bloc was under threat. Set aside the fact that he got the bulk of the biggest votes in our party in terms of people voting for him, and just the leadership that he brings to the table. So I urge the people of Fiji, let's from my perspective, there's absolutely no desire to challenge for the leadership. There's a lot of things we need to do. Good things, Shashi, for the people of Fiji. Not and That's where the focus of all the ministers are. We wanna make sure that when our term comes up, we've actually done some good things, and again, trying to rebuild the country as best we can. So if anybody talks about leadership challenge, all I can say is it's nonsense. And we value stability, Shashi. I mean, as the main salesman for Fiji, Shashi. Just think if the salesman was going around clandestinely trying to destabilize the same government that he's trying to help, uplift in terms of economic activity and investment and those kind of things. It'll be crazy. It'll destroy whatever credibility we have as a government. And so, from where I stand, it's a nonsense. Someone's got too much time on their hands, and I hope that that we just focus on the road ahead, because there's so many good things that can be done.
I asked you how stable is the leadership, and you defended your position and
Yes,
said that's why you came on this program.
yes,
How stable is the leadership?
very
Pretty
stable,
stable?
very stable. It's
And
there is absolutely no question who the leader of government is and who the leader of the People's Alliance Party is. No, not even a iota of doubt, Sashi. We have a very stable party. We have a party that's focusing on what it needs to do to serve the people of Fiji, and that's the job at the moment. The key focus is to work hard and try and get good outcomes for the people of Fiji.
so, therefore, you are going to absolutely deny what I'm going to say next. The word was
Yeah.
that you led a delegation to the Prime Minister, Sitiveni Rambuka, to seek that he steps aside from the leadership of the party. And it has been brought to my attention that NFP leader Professor Biman Prasad had threatened to withdraw from the coalition if Sitiveni Rambuka was removed. So I'm sure you will say there's no truth to that statement.
Yeah, there's a word that starts, two words that start with B and S, Sashi, that I won't mention on the show.
All right.
There's absolutely no truth to these rumors. That's why I'm saying there's someone who's got too much time on their hands concocting this nonsense. Honorable Biman Prasad and I, when we talk, we are only discussing things that are good for the economy and how we can do things better. We have never had I don't think I've ever had a sort of a bad discussion with Honorable Biman since we started. We all working in the same direction. Also with Honorable Ngavoka, we respect each other deeply. All of them, are leaders and men of capability in their own right. And so, I actually had a good laugh when I saw, that being suggested, because it's an absolute nonsense. It's like I said, Shashi, why would the person that's supposed to push for economic growth and investment in the country be going around trying to usurp the leadership and create a tremendous amount of instability in our country? It's trust me, it's a nonsense. We as I said again, the party is 100% behind Honorable Rambuka. We are happy he's going to COP28 to see what can be done about one of the clear and present dangers in our country and the region through COP28, and
Okay.
the support is total from all three parties. Actually, I can say.
You said you regularly interact with Professor Biman Prasad, the Minister
Mm.
for Finance.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, you have this economic background as well.
Yes.
Your huge experience in the corporate sector.
Yes.
What are your views on the tax break, 7-year tax break given to the Fiji water folks?
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
your views on that?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's no. I disclosed in Parliament that I was actually actively involved in that discussion,
Hmm.
and it's around Sashi, trying to listen to private sector investors and try and help them where we can. I mentioned in Parliament, you probably haven't seen it, but I mentioned in Parliament that the impact in terms of revenue of that tax break to Fiji Water is zero. In fact, because what we've done is any loss of revenue from the tax exemption, we've loaded up on the water tax. Um, and that structurally, from a global perspective, is better for Fiji Water than having company tax. So, in other words, there are 3 or 4 other water tax players in the marketplace. The increase in the water tax from 18 cents per liter to 19.5 cents per liter neutralizes any deficit
Hmm.
that occurred from that tax. So I did mention it in Parliament because the opposition were continuing to mention it, and I gave the insurance, and Honorable Biman agrees that there's zero impact on the tax revenue of Fiji. In fact, there's a slight benefit, about 2 million or 3 million or something like that.
All right. Let's head towards the finishing line. Just a handful of more questions, maybe 10, I think. Um, my next segment is called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Let me start by tackling the good side of things. On Friday, you announced the establishing of the Tambua subsea cable by Google. What is the good news behind this venture, and what impact will it have on Fiji?
Yeah, like what I said in Parliament is when the much to the chagrin of the other side was when the history of the people's government is written,
Mm.
the Google cable will be part of the legacy of the people's government in terms of trying to restructure the economic architecture of the country. I was talking about economic diversification, opportunities, Shashi. Getting an additional cable into Fiji, and with an investor like Google, has so many positive signals to send to the rest of the world. For example, the process from when they approached us to when we made the announcement was 7 months. They've been telling us that's a record time for any such type of investment to happen. That's so investor confidence becomes a big tick, Shashi. The second is the cable means that there's a lot more redundancy. As you know, Shashi, we've only had one major subsea cable coming into Fiji, which is the Southern Cross cable, which has been upgraded. And now we'll have another cable, which means that Fiji now becomes desirable in terms of those who want to come and do business, particularly in the ICT communication sector. I can tell you right now, Shashi, Telecom, Vodafone, Digicel, they're very excited with this development because
Okay.
of what it can bring into the Fijian economy and build on a technological base in the service sector, which has very good paying jobs as well. So, it's quite a transformative investment from our perspective. Google estimates through one of their studies. I think they're going to release it soon, but there's something out in the next. I think 7 years, we will generate about 3,600 jobs. There's another uplift of about 500 million Fijian in terms of GDP. I think it's conservative, but that's the numbers that Google have churned out. And there's other benefits that are going to come, Shashi, in terms of smart agriculture, health management, remote diagnostics of health issues in the islands. So there's a lot of major benefits that will flow from this investment. So it's a very transformative investment, and certainly with the ICT savvy industry, it is a significant development in Fiji. And the beauty about it all, Shashi, and this is something that the Prime Minister and the members of the cabinet have always tried to endeavor to do, is that particularly when you talk about regionalism, trying to sort of when we initiate some investments or anything, to try and consider the rest of the Pacific. So by virtue of the Tambua cable coming through Fiji, it's opened up a conversation about the connectivity to Tahiti, and now they're even talking about Fiji, Tahiti, Chile, South America connectivity, Fiji, Guam, Japan connectivity. So that's it's I can't be excited enough about the opportunity, Shashi, and we should see a lot more activity around ICT, economic activity, particularly the BPO sector, which means more jobs for our people and a lot more economic activity overall.
You just mentioned the BPO sector, the business processing outsource sector.
Yeah.
What sort of potential will that create for Fiji?
Yeah, I mean, in that same report they talk about generation of 25,000 jobs in the BPO sector out from this initial investment. So that's exciting for us. I mean, I used to be part of the BPO council before they rebranded to Outsource Fiji, and we when we started, we used to talk in terms about 100,000 people industry potentially over the next 10 to 15 years. The second cable makes it a real possibility, Shashi. It's no longer just idle talk. So from that perspective, the government's excited, and it means there's some great opportunities ahead in terms of where we're going to go with the digital side of the Fijian economy. Yeah.
Deputy Prime Minister, now to the bad side of things. The Permanent Secretary Finance has stated that Fiji lost around 50,000 workers in the past 18 months. Sri Gandhi has sounded warning bells and says this is massive, and if this trend continues, it will choke the economy. I have a viewer's question from Pata Patel. I don't know whether that's the real name. The
Yeah.
question is, could you provide some information on how the government is tackling the worker shortage and the mass exodus of skilled and semi-skilled workers?
Yeah. Thank you, Shashi. I mean, I know that the Ministry of Labour is looking at strategies around, addressing the worker shortage. But without preempting what will come to cabinet, I think the assurance I'd like to give is, we are concerned about the exit of people, and particularly young people, and so there's a couple of things that need to happen in concert, and one of the major drives is to actually develop more technically vocational apprentice-driven training. So people come immediately into employment, and they get trained on the job in apprenticeships, and then qualify. That's certainly one avenue. Of course, already there's some immigration already happening, or workers coming through, to assist, and that's nothing new. If you go to the west coast of America, in LA, agriculture belt, Shashi, lots of Mexicans there and a lot of South Americans. So importation of labor is not is not unusual. So that's another avenue that's open as well to us. So again, Shashi, there's a couple of things that we need to do. I mean, I can stand here, Shashi, and say, we should have been doing apprentice training 10 years ago. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened, which has caused people to just decide, okay, I need to go to another country, rather than. So the government is Proma government has a lot to answer in terms of how they went around closing down all the TVET, the vocational training centers around Fiji. And then said it's all going to FNU, but then didn't resource the FNU to carry it out. So, I mean, I can stand here and say that, but, what we are trying to do now is actively participate. I'm just giving my thinking, Shashi, because obviously, in the new government, it all comes under the Ministry of Labor, and he'll probably come up with the comprehensive solution. But when I was last in America, I went and visited some farms, and one thing that dawned on me immediately is the agricultural sector in America, which is one of the backbones of the American economy. It's totally run by Mexicans and South Americans, and so therein is of course the possibility for us to. I'm not saying that we go and get 200,000 foreigners, but there's certainly that's an avenue that's open to us in the medium term and the short term to try and address the shortage issue, whilst we try and train up our own people and then feed them into the system. So that's kind of where I look at it, Shashi. Again, I'm saying this without any authority over the labor strategy that's going to come forward, but those are some of the things that are being looked at. Yeah.
Have a drink of water. You deserve to have a sip of water.
Thank you.
Just one more viewer question from Mark McElrath of the McDonald's Fiji fame.
Yes.
The question he asks is whether we can look at 3 to 5 year permits for all incoming foreigners, semi-skilled and non-skilled workers. He adds that the way we are going, we will not have anyone left to plant cassava in Fiji. I know you're not the Minister for Labour, but wearing your hat of so many different portfolios, particularly Minister for Trade, how do you respond to Mark?
Yeah, I think as a conversation, let's say, Shashi, without being too specific, the idea of having risk-based assessments for immigration applications. So, in other words, what I mean is, if your company is tax compliant, you're doing the right thing in terms of your FNPF payments, your payments to for whatever services that you need to provide, and there's a genuine need in your business to get certain level of employees, that we look at it as in terms of a risk-based assessment. So we, if anything, facilitate the ease of that coming through, and I think that's what Mark is referring to. It's certainly not an idea that's I certainly think it's an idea that we should look at a bit more closely. But again, like I said, we'll await the strategies that are going to come from the Ministry of Labor, and I know, and in fact, it's more immigration that is going to get we have to have that conversation. But I know we deal a lot with the Director of Immigration. She's doing all that she can to help businesses, and she's really committed to trying to find solutions as well.
All right. Now, what is the latest development on the establishment of the proposed medicinal cannabis industry in Fiji? And that question is from a viewer in Canberra, Ben Kush.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think it's actually, again, the medicinal cannabis, if you believe the write-ups by the ANZ economist that's been in the country recently, it has great potential. And so for us at the moment, the consultation has been key. So the cabinet had approved the consultation to be had over the medicinal cannabis formation. So we're at the tail end of that consultation, Shashi. We need to do, if you like, an evaluation on what the industry might mean to Fiji. So that's a piece of work that currently we're working on getting underway. And so I'd imagine, in the new year, we'll sort of be talking more specifically in terms of when we can formally announce the launch. Of course, I have to get cabinets approved the creation of the industry, but under certain parameters. One was to consult widely. Second was to see what it means in terms of economic impact for Fiji, which we're working on. And then once that's tied up together, hopefully first quarter that can come together, and then we can start rolling out. I mean, there's obviously legislation, Shashi, that needs to be looked at as well.
Okay.
So that's part of the final aspect of it. But it's exciting, Shashi. For me, it's exciting because, again, to the idea of economic diversification, I'm not only, when we're talking about medicinal cannabis, some of the investors are coming in with a wider play. They're looking at this as more nutraceutical kind of offering, which means, for example, Shashi, you remember all your herbal medicinal cures in Fiji when you were still here, the Batambatekoro, the whatever, Waposudu. That one of the investors is keen to look at how some of these herbal remedies can be commercialized. And so that's an exciting opportunity. Kava in itself is another big opportunity for Fiji and for Vanuatu and PNG as well. And it all sits under the medicinal cannabis / nutraceutical industry. So in effect, Shashi, by us talking about medicinal cannabis, there's an underlying desire there to create a whole industry around nutraceutical product. And just imagine, Fiji, pristine country, coming up with these herbal cures for all sorts of ailments. It's a great sort of opportunity economically for the country. So when I've been talking about medicinal cannabis, it's not purely medicinal cannabis per se, but a whole underlying industry that we can create in Fiji to just broaden out the economy a bit more.
All right. 3 more questions, I promise. And we wrap it up for today.
Sure.
Parliament has now passed the Etho-K Affairs Amendment Bill just last week, 2023, which allows the reinstatement of the Great Council of Chiefs. A viewer's question: Given that Fiji faces huge long-term problem of a 2013 constitution imposed on the people without any parliamentary approval or a referendum, why is the Rambuka government so focused on bringing back the GCC, which by all criteria is the waste of taxpayer resources? The opposition would argue that no one missed its presence for the last 16 years. What can the GCC contribute to Fiji's development, which your current government is unable to do?
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, I'll address the cost issue, Sashi. The intent of setting up the GCC was to create it as a self-sustaining mechanism. So the Itauke Trust Fund, one of its key objectives is to sustain the running of the GCC. So going forward, eventually, there'll be zero cost to the taxpayers of the country. So that's one key point to make. The second one is, if you had traversed the countryside like we had done in terms of particularly the Itauke, that desire to bring back the GCC was prevalent, and it's I think we have to look at it as an avenue for views to be raised, and particularly from the Itauke community, and also an avenue where what the reforms are saying is that it'll be a platform as well for discussion with with other races as well. So it's an avenue that will, from my perspective, Chachi, strengthen the underlying structure of Tauke, but it'll have tremendous benefit for all of the country. So it's from that perspective, apart from the cost side, which is will be addressed because it's cost neutral. It's certainly from a stability standpoint, from an avenue where there can be a deep understanding of issues, national issues. The GCC, is there, has a big role to play in what we feel the new Fiji should be, Shashi.
All right. May I please ask you to state what your vision for Fiji is?
Yeah. Shashi, certainly if you, because I'm from private sector, I tend to talk in very granular terms. Obviously, we want Fiji to be a free and democratic society. We already made the first steps there. We want it to be a society that's prosperous. We are starting that process now. And it requires an effort throughout the country to work together to rebuild the economy, broaden out the economy, ensure that the economy not only works for people in the urban centers, but works for people as well in the rural centers. So it means pushing commerce and industry out into the rural settings. So that's a big part of this whole exercise. And, we want it to be a country where, we respect each other and work together for everybody. And that's essentially where the People's Coalition is headed, and People's Alliance is our manifesto basically articulates what I've just said in not too many words, but we are we are taking building steps in terms of trying to get this done, and hopefully we can take the the rest of Fiji along the journey with us. And you did mention something about PR and the need to sort of talk about it a bit more. Point taken, Sashi. We're probably too modest for our own good. So we'll try and make sure we trumpet some of the good things that are happening. Certainly going forward. Yeah.
Yes, I did mention public relations off camera with you, and
Yes.
I'm glad you've remembered that. And the
We listen.
final
We listen,
question,
Tashi.
and the final question to you, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, your views on today's program.
Yeah, no. Firstly, Shashi, I know we haven't caught up for. Actually, I think the last time we had a conversation was just after, I think, when the decision was made to form the new government the second time.
24th of December.
Yeah, and
It
no,
was
no,
about
no.
I think 9 or 10 o'clock in
Correct,
Fiji. It was about
correct.
8 o'clock
Yeah,
here.
correct. Yeah. And since then, for whatever reason, as you can appreciate, Shashi, it's all been, we've been all running I was going to say mad people, but we've been really on the go trying to get things moving. Mindful of the fact that we have a very short time to get things get traction and then start kicking goals. So probably I should have come back on your show a lot earlier, but certainly enjoyed the conversation. You've certainly posed some very tough questions to me, and I hope I've answered them well enough for the people of Fiji. But there's a couple of things I just want to points I'd like to make. One is, just to assure the people of Fiji, we are not deliberately walking around trying to defy rule of law or whatever. I know the other side of the house tries to project an image, and certain commentators, but that is not. We don't sit in cabinet and discuss those kind of things.
Okay.
We are very focused on doing things the right way. There's so much to do that is good for Fiji. There's so many social problems that we need to work together to solve. And it's not going to take. I'll be honest, Sashi. It's not going to take one term to get it done. It's going to take a couple of terms to get it done. But right now, we're just focused on trying to serve out the first term. I think you are starting to see some really good things emerging, and hopefully next year you'll see more good things emerge. And I urge the people of Fiji, keep talking to us. If you have concerns, please raise them. I got a text the other day saying, "Hey, you've been ignoring my, what I want, what I'd asked you to do," and that's all good. Like it's a part of being accountable. And so, to the people of Fiji, please be assured, we are very committed to the country. Any even inkling of an idea that there's a challenge to the leadership is absolutely ridiculous. We are all focused on trying to make sure this country moves forward. We make steps to rebuilding this beautiful country of ours. It deserves a lot better than what it's had in the last 16 years.
All right. Well, one of our viewers said that we need 3 Manoas in Parliament, and that's a great compliment to you. Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Manoa Kamikamica, I thank you sincerely for giving me a commitment and then standing by your word in appearing on this program. I was beginning to think that this time around as well, the government might not show up. The previous government never showed up. How about encouraging some of your colleagues to come and speak about their portfolios, like I said earlier? That'll be nice. So
Thank you.
thank you very, very much, Vinaka Vakalevusaka. Have a wonderful Sunday. and all the best to you and your colleagues.
Thank you, Shashi, and thank you for having me on the program again. It's an honor to converse with you. Feel free to reach out whenever you want to have a conversation. But I'll pass on your message to my learned cabinet members. I'm sure some of them will be itching to come and talk on your show.
I hope so. Tell them I don't bite. Tell them that. Savinaka, Deputy Prime Minister, thank you, sir. God bless.
Thank you. Naka, mantap.
Navalevsaka, thank you. Well, there you have it, episode 54. Don't go yet because I'm going to tell you about the opposition appearing on this program. As I say, we ask the questions that Fijians all over the world want answers to, Fijians want to know. Let me state categorically that I've sent an email to the Leader of Opposition inviting him and his colleagues on the opposition bench to appear as my guest on SSTP. So far, I have not received a response. The Honorable Inia Seriratu was also approached by someone on behalf of me, and his response was by message, and I quote, "I appreciate your efforts, but please bear with me. I will have to have party clearance and guidance. Not that I'm declining, but we as a party have strict protocols on such issues." End of quote. Well, Honorable Seriratu, the Leader of Opposition, let me extend a public invitation to you and your parliamentary colleagues, including your party leader, Vorengimbani Marama, to join me on SSTP. I did not know that that in your party, you as the opposition leader, need to take clearance and guidance from the party hierarchy. Please seek that guidance, sir. Seek that clearance, and let us engage in a meaningful discussion on things that matter to all Fijians. And if there's anyone else out there who wants to talk to me on SSTP, send me that private message on Messenger, and I'll consider whether you should appear on the show. Well, that's it, folks. To my SSTP team, I thank you, and thank you for today's episode. I must also thank all our viewers for watching this program today. And those who've provided positive feedbacks, a big Vinaka Vakalevu to you. Nikhil Singh will be back next Sunday. Thank you for your likes and emojis. Thank you very much. So until the next episode, I wish you all a very safe and happy week. In closing, I'll leave you with this quote from Thomas Jefferson, who said, "The care of human life and happiness, and not their destruction, is the first and only object of good government." The care of human life and happiness, and not their destruction, is the first and only object of good government. That quote from Thomas Jefferson. Well, folks, till the next program, I am Sashi Singh, bidding you goodbye, namaste, and ni samode. Goodbye, world.